There is an exercise that I do with my, well, at the university. I primarily do it in undergraduate classes. I haven't tried it in a graduate class, but maybe I will. But it's an exercise on how you look at race by perspective and by circumstance. And I put the class in the place of Nat Turner, who led a slave rebellion. And in this rebellion, he killed women and children, even toddlers. Ha ha, hey, mommy. Um, with that, I assigned the class the position to say whether it was right to kill babies in their cribs based on the mission and intention of this revolution. Now, the point in that is A, you're looking at race from traditionally a different circumstance because even Black people don't look at race as killing babies. We pretty much look at it as an adult on adult thing or a this group of people versus this group of people, but do I harm a baby? It cuts to how situational we think and how there's so much more to thinking that we need to do before we just come up with our position. No, slave revolt is wrong. You shouldn't do it. No, you shouldn't kill babies. No. Well, what was the logic behind it? What were the motivations? This, that, and the other. And I usually announce this assignment the same way because one time I announced it, a couple of times over the course of me doing it, I started noticing that I got a strange reaction when I would announce the lesson a certain way. And the way that I announce it is, who wants to see if they're racist? White men never raise their hand. Never had anybody say, I'm down to do a self-reflection, a personal evaluation. You could hear the tension come into the room. And now I announce it like that on purpose because people, especially my white students, and it seems the older they get, the more they push back from it. They don't want to reflect. Do I have these proclivities? They want to firmly state that they don't. But in the academic process, there's no evaluation. So if you're not doing it in an academic setting, where are you doing it? Which means it's probably not getting done at all. So I'm like, okay, these are some firm stances because rarely, it was a young lady on Pearson Morgan who was on there at the same time as Mark Lamont Hill. And she professed to being a racist. Look it up. Go to Mark Lamont Hill's channel, like, subscribe, be a member. Excellent. One of the best scholars of our time. Definitely one of our brightest Black minds in history, I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, I wish he did less journalism and more scholarship. The guy is fabulous. But this lady on Pierce Morgan admitted she uses the word nigger, admitted that she's a racist, and as upset as people got, I kind of felt her. I'm like, at least you are functioning in good faith. You've done your evaluation. You are fine with who you are. But without that evaluation, can you really say that? Perfect example is I post on, I apparently have a large conservative following to my channel, which I love, because that's how you learn. When you get uncomfortable and I get uncomfortable, that's where we start to learn. If I'm comfortable, I know what I know. If you're comfortable, you know what you know. But when we get uncomfortable, that's when we really start to adjust ideologies and ponder some of our stances. I put up a couple of DEI things, like if everybody's talking about the DEI is this big poison to the country, where are all the black jobs? Where are all the black businesses? Where are the Latino jobs? Where are these jobs that's making this disproportionality happen? Further, we're cutting this money from DEI and we're putting it over here. How much money? How much money is going into DEI that nothing is coming out of? And if nothing is coming out of it, why are you mad about it? So somebody put on the bond, DEI is wrong because it violates the 14th Amendment. Now, I know that has been part of the political argument. What I have right now is the United States Constitution. Everybody should have one. Every American should have one. But more than having it, it's kind of like the Bible. Read it. Don't just, walk around with your chest stuck out, talking about you have one. Read it. Know what it says. So when somebody tells you something violates a particular amendment, you know if it does or not. Now, the 14th Amendment is 803. The 14th Amendment was actually passed in 1868. And that is a very, very significant amendment among the Reconstruction Amendments. Now, the Reconstruction Amendments are the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. 13th Amendment, 1865, addressed slavery in America. 1868 provided equal protection under the law, particularly to Black people. And of course, the 15th Amendment gave suffrage to particularly Black people. Now, why is that important? Black people are the only people in America that had to have their rights specifically articulated of every other immigrant, of every other indigenous person, any naturalized citizen. We are the only people that such a focus of our belongingness was pondered that we had to have a particular amendment and law set that named us in particular. Now, why is that further important? Is because Black people were here before most white people. Black people got to Jamestown, Virginia, which was the first colony. Jamestown, Virginia was established in 1607. Okay. Black people got here in 1619. So the first American colony, Black folks got here less than a decade later. Just over a decade later. In fact, Black people got here in 1619. The Mayflower got here in 1620. So isn't that odd that a group of people that have been, and when Columbus got to the Western Hemisphere, if you read his journals, which I have over there, the first thing he said was, I see Black people. He didn't say red people. He didn't say dark people. He didn't say brown people. He said Black people. The oldest known race of people in the Western Hemisphere are the Olmecs. Olmecs. Look it up. The only thing that they know about the Olmecs was that they left carvings of their civilizations behind. The Olmecs were so old, they were gone by the time European recorded history was around to record it. This is before the Aztecs. We talking the whole Western Hemisphere. The oldest stuff they can found are the Olmecs. And these are, in fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and have a little lesson. I'm going to switch off. I'm going to go to Olmec heads. Olmec heads. Okay. And I'm going to come back to you. Where am I? Am I here? No. Here? No. Am I here? No. Trying to get back to you. Oh, I've done something crazy. Here I am. All right. Check this out. Where are the Olmec heads? Olmec heads. Okay, check this out. Now I'm going to come back to share screen, make sure you can see what I see. Look at that. What nationality of people does this look like? And it's not just a few of them. What genotype are these features? We're talking the heads date from at least 900 BC. Columbus got here in 1492. What year did Mansa Musa come here? Let me look. Mansa Musa will start to come here in the 1300s. So even the earliest documented African voyage, the Olmecs predate that. So we have artifacts that show Black folks been here, right? And that's what these three amendments articulate. So now, what is in the name of righteousness alleged? What about Indians? Were Black people just a part of that? Or which ones were longer, Indians or Black people? Let me, that is a wonderful question. Native American. Images. That is a wonderful question. And I have a wonderful answer. Check this out. You have the Seminoles. Look at that. You have the um, let me see, Native American tribes that look black. I know it's the Seminoles. I know it's the um, Cherokees. I know most of the civilized tribes. That goes back beyond um, Black Indian tribes, um, Mardi Gras tribes. So there are so many. That's before European history even came into play, right? So what we just don't know. We just really don't know. We don't know if they came, if they were there as part of plate tectonics. We don't know if they were there coming across in the Bering Strait. We don't know if they came during Ice Age. We really don't know. But what we do know is that there are pyramids on every continent. Oh, okay. You did see the pictures once I got it up there. There are pyramids on every continent. And check this out. Um, Let me see. Yeah, you saw it. And let me give you one a little, just take you there a little further. I'm going to go to the okay, now I'm going to flip you out. I'm going to take you to the Florida state flag before 1980. Check this out. Let me go back and I'm going to click this one. Now, I'm doing some schooling here. Look in the background on the Florida state flag. Look what you see. Pyramids. This was not changed until 1980. Okay. Why are there pyramids in Florida? It's on the state flag. Check me. What European education has told us, well, those were mountains. Those weren't pyramids. Those were mountains. There are no freaking mountains in Florida. There are no mountains in Florida. I lived in Florida. I lived in the top of Florida. I drove all the way to the Keys. There are no mountains in Florida. Why, for most of Florida's existence, were there pyramids? There's still remnants of pyramids on the Mississippi River in Louisiana. So there are pyramids on every continent. And what else is on there? Knowledge of the universe, ancient knowledge of the universe, clear depictions of the solar systems, planet sizes, planet order, planet distances are clearly articulated, and that knowledge in prehistoric time is on every continent. So, just to jump in the chat, I wanted to answer that. But to get us back on track, We're talking about the 14th Amendment and the indigenous nature of Black people. Okay. Not just Black people, African people. All right. So remember the story of, whites not having the desire for that particular reflection, um, concerning the, if I'm racist or not. And we're going to go to page 380 or 803 is what it was, 803. So I can tell you exactly what Article 3, 8, 5. And when we get to okay, we're going to get to the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny the person within its jurisdiction equal protection under the laws. Representatives shall apportioned among several states according to their respective numbers. But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president of the United States, representatives in Congress, and the judicial officers of state or members of the legislature thereof is denied to any male inhabitants in such state being 21 years of age, citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged except for participation in rebellion or other crime, the basis representation therein shall be reduced. I'm looking for a particular part. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in an insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss of emancipation of a slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. Congress shall have the power to enforce by any appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. Now, this was in 1868, right? Okay. To have an argument today that anti-discrimination legislation violates the 14th Amendment, especially as a white person. We're just talking about the history of the country right now. And you're claiming that you live in a post-racial society and you do not have racist proclivities. And you're saying you recognize that this law does not offer equal protection. Now, number one, this is an argument that has been in place since 1870. This was part of the Democratic strategy find it in this book right here, where they were saying, and it's in all of the Reconstruction books. I have a gang of Reconstruction books, but I'm not talking about Lincoln. Where are we? Black codes. He warned that Congress was dangerously expanding the federal government to give privileges to Black men that white men did not have. This is talking about Republicans thought these laws were uncontroversial as well. They should have been, but Johnson vetoed the laws. This is about the Freedmen's Bureau and trying to reinvest the wealth back into the communities that it was extracted from. He insisted that Congress could not legislate without Southerners being represented, a bombshell right there. And it went on to lay out the political argument that echoed slaveholders James Henry Hammond's ideology. Now, this is 1870, where they're saying these laws are hurting white men. Now, this is fresh out of slavery. So even today, we're having people saying, white people saying, these very few people, because we're less than 12% of the population. I think we're less than 13%. We're 12% of the population. These very few people have a perceived advantage over me to the point that it's unconstitutional. Now, what does that mean? That means, as a white person, to have that perspective, you have ignored why the law was put in place in the first place. Either you ignored it or you don't care, which means you're racist. Which means you do not believe in the Constitution that has a sense of fairness and balance, where it says this should not occur, and this outcome needs to be set forth to fix it, hence an amendment. But you can see how in 2025 DEI does not align with the 14th Amendment, but you could not see how in 1865 convict leasing did, and in the 1870s Jim Crow did, and at the turn of the century that segregation did, and the war on drugs with Nixon, and then the war on drugs with Reagan, which multiple presidents have apologized and said that disproportionately affected the Black community. Obama, Clinton, and Hillary Clinton was a senator. She was in the middle of it. Bush, Papa Bush, all of these senators, all these people have said that disproportionate. So they did not have equal protection under the law. The drug offenses, powder cocaine, crack cocaine, that's in Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. That the drug whites use has a lighter crime than the drugs blacks use. Blacks arrested for the same crime whites do get longer sentences. Blacks are suspended from school longer and faster for the same offenses as whites. Redlining, disparities in education, disparities in policing. All of these things that's going on You didn't have a 14th Amendment argument. You didn't have a 14th Amendment argument during the NFL protests. You didn't have a 14th Amendment argument during the George Floyd protests. You didn't have a 14th Amendment argument during the civil rights protest. You didn't have a 14th Amendment argument against Rodney King. But if there is a program in place that might give less than 13% of the population a perceived that now we're going to talk about the 14th Amendment. Whites have not talked about the 14th Amendment in 160 years. To talk about it now, let's talk about it since it's been in place. Whites fought to keep the programs that violated the 14th Amendment. They fought for Jim Crow. They fought for segregation. They fought for convict leasing. They fought for redlining neighborhoods. They fought to keep the imbalanced wealth. They fought for the wealth gap. Now, and what is it that you're fighting about? That it says it? Where are the jobs? Black folks getting jobs? No matter how low unemployment is in the United States, it's double in Black community. If the United States, you know what? Let me put myself on Front Street. U.S. unemployment. 2025. I cannot know these numbers. I'm looking it up right now. Black unemployment. Black. Okay. I'm not gonna bail on you. Check it out. Whatever, oh no. Whatever unemployment is in this country, it is usually twice that for Black people. 4.2. I'm going to, I'm going to make sure what you guys are seeing. Okay, you guys are still seeing 4.2. Check this out. Where we at? Come on, where's the number? We're playing. $6.2. It fell to 6.2 from 6.4. It is usually double for Black people. So wouldn't we, if DEI is working, shouldn't at least we be on par? If DEI is extracting from the white community to the point that it's a congressional constitutional issue, shouldn't there be some evidence that there's some disproportionality? Because guess what? In 1865, Black people owned 25% of the nation's wealth. Guess what percentage of the nation's wealth Black people own in 2025? 0.47. It dropped 0.03%. So where is the outcome? Where is the outcome? Where is the violation? Where's the harm? Where is the proof of equality? You want to talk about the 14th Amendment? It should be working. We at the very least should have the same unemployment as the rest of the country. And what's considered Black? See, they put Black folks in certain numbers and then put other Black folks in on other numbers. I would probably venture to say that historically it's been double, and it still is. But even if we go off those numbers, it's 1.5 times more. Why? So, what is the good news in this? Since we're talking about the Constitution, Project 2025 was this big deal, and I had said people are getting all hyped up over nothing because we have a system of checks and balances where the president cannot just run wild. Can't. And being a student of history, they said, well, you know, it's all Republicans that are running the House and the Senate and the executive, so they can do whatever they want. No, because this country has never been about homogeneity. It's not been about all whites functioning together. It's a rat race. It is about money. That's what the colonies were, income property for England. I'm not being negative. It's a fact. That's what the colonies were. That's what financed the Industrial Revolution, was the slavery over here. So it wasn't just disproportionate drawing from the wealth of Black people in the United States. It was disproportionate overseas as well. But we're not going to get off hand. This democracy is majority rules, right? That's our government. Capitalism is survival of the fittest. Your government does not match your economy. You can't have the strongest survive with groupthink. That's just not so. At best, what America has is an oligarchical form of government. But our government truly is capitalism. Because even if you get all conservatives in charge, they're managing the resources of the country. That's all the United States is. The United States is a corporation designed to manage the public assets of the country because the rich people don't want to pay for it. So they get the money from all the poor people and they allocate it out to departments to run it because the rich people don't want to pay for it. That was one of the reasons why they wanted Western expansion. The rich people were paying 90% of the taxes in the country. So they want to build a middle class. That's why they gave that. They didn't give that land to white people because they liked them. Poor white people, as James Baldwin said, is the biggest slave group in the country. He said the worst part about it is they don't know it. They didn't give poor white, this country, it's not enough Black people in the country for us to truly make a difference in labor. Though our impact, I cannot explain why it's as big as it is. It is something about that particular group of people, American Black people, that historically can bring this country to its knees when nothing else can. But I don't want to get off on that. So this particular group is who's being taken advantage of. So there's going to be some fighting within. So it's not going to be 2025, white people are going to put black people back into slavery and all of this is going to happen. I said that wasn't going to happen. And power amongst whites is what happened. That's why we had the Revolutionary War. That's why we had the Civil War. That's why we had the War of 1812. White people don't like white people historically. White people like things. That's just historically accurate. I know that sounds bad, but it's historically accurate. And what are we seeing? Trump's coming in, first 4 months, he's trying to roll this stuff out. And it's not good spirited stuff, the immigration. We're getting rid of all immigrants. He really just sent like 17 people one time. And one of those 17 was the wrong person. I mean, they just were bumbling and fumbling. This Keystone Cops is not working out. But when he started arresting judges. Now, he didn't go arrest the judge, I know. But he supported it, saying that the judges need to do, and I know the Supreme Court was going to do it. I know the Supreme Court was going to do it. Wait a minute. You in my lane. If somebody's not judging right, we have a process for that. So now look what happened. They're blocking in courts all that immigration stuff he was doing. Now he came out with a crime bill. Oh, we're going to empower the police. The police going to be able to do whatever they need to do. We're going to stop DEI, put all the money into the police departments. We're going to get them guns. He did the same thing as 1994 crime bill. Same thing as Reaganomics. Same scare, fear tactics. I honestly think people are worried more about groceries than they are crime right now. But okay. The Supreme Court just overturned a conviction or a clearance of an officer who shot an unarmed black man through his windshield because it looked like the guy was taking off, and the police officer jumped on the car and shot him through the windshield. And they said he can't say that he feels afraid if you put yourself in a position of fear. If the car was driving off, why did you jump on the hood? And this is what they're talking about in the Supreme Court. This is not my rationale. But what I'm saying is now they are opening Pandora's box on policing. They refuse to do it. Doing Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, George Floyd. Can't get the George Floyd Policing Reform Act passed. Can't get even the Emmett Till anti-lynching passed. But when Homie, as president, starts stepping in the lane, all of a sudden they're opening up police provisions and protection. After Trump said we're making it wider for them to do. So now they cutting off his immigration stuff. They're cutting off his crime bill stuff. And it's one more thing. But the systems of checks and balances. I have another video saying, where are the systems of checks and balances why is the president saying, why is he interpreting law saying what a judge should or should not be doing? So we're now seeing the government start to work. Now, those of you who are Democrats and articulate yourself as being a Democrat, why? Look at the presence of your of your political party. Virtually absent. Where is the pushback? Where is the righteousness? What are we doing? It's a sham. It's a game. It's a shell game. But if we know the structure of the country, we know the levels of power, and they will cross each other. And when you see, oh, there's an impasse, they're going to cross each other, then you know, okay, that's going to be a problem. That's why 2025 is not working. Other than the fact it's coming from a hateful place, it's not a lot of people making money off of it. See, they were all making money off of the war on drugs. That's why it stayed in place for so long. Democrats was making money off of it. Republicans was making money off of it. Private sector making money off of it. Everybody was making money off of it. Somebody was going to rock the boat. But the stuff they're doing now is just distractions for the poor people to keep them busy. I know what it was. And this is another thing. My white Americans, my conservative white Americans, my anti-immigration Americans of any color, my MAGA brothers and sisters, my MAGA followers, how do we have the intestinal fortitude to support building a wall? We're not racist. We want rules follow right. If you come into the country right, then you're good. Why are we accepting white South Africans into the country when we have an immigration problem? We're not talking about that. And all of my Black revolutionaries, all of my white non-racist, where are you? Because I'm going to tell you, when NFL players were taking the knee, we heard from white America. We've heard more about that stabbing at the high school between a Black kid and a white kid in Frisco, Texas, than we have about the 14th Amendment being violated when Trump said he wanted to send American prisoners to El Salvador. Why are we bringing South Africans into the United States? White South Africans, particularly white South Africans. And everybody knows Elon Musk is a white South African. Now, if you didn't, please Google. So again, you may not feel you're racist. My question to you is, what have you done to evaluate that? I've learned that racist means two different things in America. Black people, racist means anything that promotes the outcome of oppression to a particular group. White people choose for it to mean, I have a personal animus against you. Now, my politics can keep you poor, My politics or my finance or my economics can keep you hungry. My culture can be dangerous to you, but that's not race. Whites choose to believe that racism is not a system when we've known since the Kerner report that was done under LBJ in 1969, I believe. Let me look. I'm sorry. 1967. Here we go. Finding the truth behind American race riots was a quest undertaken not just by the Kerner Commission in late 1867. Newsweek produced a large special section reporting on the disturbances and offering possible solutions of racial inequity. Okay, I'm not really feeling Newsweek because that is not the same thing, but um, the Kerner Commission got it right, but what? Let me see. Can you all see what I'm seeing? Um, the Kerner report articulated to the president, because basically the historic question, what is it black folks want? Why are they so mad? Now, this is 67. This is right before they killed Martin Luther King. They had already killed Medgar Evers. They already killed Malcolm. They had multiple shootouts with the Black Panther Party, but not the final shootout with the Black Panther Party, which was the first time SWAT was ever deployed in the United States. Special Weapons and Tactical Unit was used on poor Black teenagers in Oakland, California. Military grade enforcement was used on, and they were mostly female, by the way. Where are all of these good white Americans? Where's the Black leadership? So, before we go into what the 14th, what violates what, one, read the amendment. Two, look at the history of the country from that point forward and ask yourself, why didn't I have that energy with anything else until it affected what I thought it affected me? And then, what is the proof that I'm being affected? Again, like, share, subscribe, follow the channel. Um, I guess this is history and politics, though it was supposed to be at 9 o'clock. My apologies, but better late than never. And please keep commenting again. Any of my MAGA followers, open invitation. Please come on. I want to learn. I don't disparage anybody. I don't name call. I have questions. If you can offer me some information on how I can understand the country more broadly, I deeply appreciate it. Thank you. Good night, love.